because I have my phone on Do Not Disturb. So I will check this again. It still says going live. It says I'm live. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. So Sarah just walked in and let me know that apparently it didn't go live right away. So jumping right back to the start. Sorry about that technical difficulty here. Okay. So starting this right back from the start. Now, welcome everyone to the Real Estate Review webinar. This webinar, we are really going to be focusing on real estate reviews, which are really the simple thing that any real estate agent can do to increase your business fast. Now, I'm not saying that just as a get-rich-quick scheme or anything like that. The real estate review is really the amazing process that we have watched agents across the country and through Canada use as a skill to connect with clients. And the more you connect with clients, the more you become that expert advisor, the better it ends up being. So, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
There's an echo on the line.
Okay, so go ahead and mute your mics, please, on your computers. Okay. Sorry. Coming right back to it. So the whole point of this webinar is to really help you learn this skill, really understand in the key way how to use real estate reviews best in your business. So, that being said, welcome everyone to the 2022, and if you didn't see the What's New webinar, we have deemed 2022 as the year of the review. Now the reason why we're so focused on the review is we have seen agents using our software and really get amazing results from very basic graphs to connect with customers and to really start conversations that end with transactions. So that's why this year our goal for 2022 is to really focus on helping all of you get the most value possible from our software by helping you truly understand how to use and leverage it. What we mean by that, and what we mean by helping you increase your business in a healthy and positive way, is we want to help you really understand how to use the graphs and the reports we do offer so that you can connect to your customers and really stay in flow in the right way to create transactions versus waiting for them to come to you. And that's what this webinar is all about. We have focused first, we know we're the pricing experts and we love the actual puzzle and the actual solution to pricing homes. But when it comes down to it, we've also sold real estate or worked in some capacity in a real estate office. And so we realized very quickly that being able to connect with customers and be able to use this skill is something that you can really leverage and really become super powerful in your business. So before we go further into this real estate review, and hopefully we've worked past all the technical difficulties that we're working at the start here, what you should do right now is say hi to Sarah in the live chat. In the live chat in this webinar, you will find Sarah is actually sitting with my father answering questions live throughout the presentation. YouTube limits us to an hour live, so we've eaten up a little bit just working through these technical difficulties. So I'm going to try and get to some questions at the end of this presentation, but I want to focus more than anything on the walkthrough so you really understand this whole process. So if you have any questions, ask them and they'll be answering them as best as they can. And I'm going to try and get to a couple at the end. But if you do have questions, make sure you just put them in the live chat and they'll be answering throughout this whole time. So that being said, this presentation is really about the real estate reviews. And this is meant to help you understand and answer the 4 main questions that come with real estate reviews. First, we're going to address what. What is a real estate review? Now, you might have an idea of what a real estate review might be, but the new definition we have for this might kind of surprise you. Then we're going to go into the why. Why you need to be incorporating this skill into your business. And I say need for a reason. So we're going to get into what that real need is going to be and why this skill is going to be something that's going to be a game changer for you. Then we're going to answer the key hows, how to contact your customers, how to create your reviews report, how to present it, how to ask the right questions, and how to get started. What should you do at the end of this presentation right now today to get going? And the last question is when. Most of your customers, if not every one of your customers, should go through this reviews process with you at some point, but there are key times when it's more powerful. And when it's prime and when you really have that connection with them is the best time to do it because you end up getting more results. So, that being said, let's answer that key first question of what. Now, a lot of you might think you know what a real estate review is, and maybe you read our earlier book about real estate reviews, but the definition has slightly changed. A real estate review is a conversation between you and your customer about what has happened in their personal real estate market that leads to you discussing their future plans and setting up tasks that lead to transactions. Now, I know that's a little bit verbose, but the main thing we need to really focus on here is that it's a conversation. Okay? It's not just the report. Now, yes, we're going to show you the report. We're going to talk about the report that you're going to be presenting to your customers, but the report itself is not the review. It is a tool. It is the reason why you're having the conversation, and it leads that conversation to the right point, asking the right questions, and really it makes it so it's very clear for you and your customer what you're discussing. But the whole point of a real estate review is this full conversation. Now, that being said, we are going to show the report, but what the report is not a complete tool. It's not a complete answer. It's meant to be a conversational guide. So if it has all the answers, there's nothing really to talk about. And that's kind of one of the main differences many people kind of stumble on is sometimes they'll do a full CMA or a full market update, if you will. But a good real estate review report is meant to be a tool that you can really discuss and talk over to really guide this whole conversation. So for today's definition, as I walk through this whole process, and I'm going to show you all this as we go through, we're going to view this and remember that the real estate review is the conversation. And the conversation has 5 real main parts. You're contacting your customers, you're creating the report, you're discussing the report with your customers, hopefully in person, asking the right questions, and then setting the right after meeting tasks. These 5 pieces, this entire thing is the conversation, and that's what really makes a successful real estate review. So now that we've established a real estate review is not just a report, it's not just a market update, but it is this entire conversation. Before we get into how to actually do this, let's first just address the 4 main reasons why you should be doing this. Okay, reason number 1 is a great aspect of flow. Now, staying in flow with your customers, staying top of mind is obviously important when it comes to when they're ready to sell a house. You want to be, connected with them so they know to pick up the phone and call you first. So the more in touch with your customers are, the more they'll know, like, and trust you. Now, obviously, that means that they're more likely to pick up the phone and call you when they're ready to buy or sell a house, but it also means they're more likely to refer. So that being said, being in contact with them, doing a real estate review, and having that whole conversation will keep you in flow. Now, being in flow is awesome, and being connected to people is great, but being in flow from the position of an expert advisor is even better. So being the one that keeps your customers on top of their investment, on top of their home ownership, shows you really care and you're paying attention. There's a lot of real estate agents out there that are just in it for the transaction. So once they sell the house, they kind of, maybe have them on their newsletter, but you're not really connecting with them on a consistent basis to keep them in the circle, in the know, on their investment. And that's something that when you start doing that consistently, they know, love, and trust you even more, but they also know that you're their expert advisor and that you care enough to be constantly checking in on them. Okay, the third main reason, which for many of you might be the main reason you're going to do real estate reviews ever, is they work. Now, we've seen numbers as high as 1 in 2, we've seen numbers as high as 1 in 3, but at a minimum, 1 in every 4 real estate reviews, this entire conversation you have with a customer will result in 1 or more transactions. Now, that's fantastic numbers. So if you're having these conversations with your customers on a consistent basis, you will be generating transactions that might not have happened had your clients and customers not known about the availability of equity they have in their house or the change in price they've had. And this is kind of one of those things where you'll find yourself making transactions happen versus waiting for them to come to you. Now, the fourth and the main reason why I'm giving this webinar today, the main reason that I want to focus on is that they're efficient. Okay, they increase your closings, they increase your transactions without really taking an inordinate amount of time. Now, the reason why they don't take a ton of time is because at Focus First, we really have taken the steps to create real estate review reports that are easy for you to make, easy for you to compile, and you can churn out really fast. Now, really fast with high quality is the main key here, but it allows you to be very efficient with your time. You can create these reports very quickly, connect with your customers, and have those meetings without really having to spend just an hour or longer trying to figure out how to get this review together. And that's one of the key things that you're going to see in your business is the more efficient you are with these times, but still having an impact, the more time you have available to be showing buyers around or to be doing pre-listing appointments or doing other versions of flow, or the more time you have to spend on family things and hanging out with your family or going on vacation or doing charity work or connecting in different ways to the community. So efficiency is one of the main reasons why at Focus First, we're really focusing on trying to help you get the most out of our software. So that being said, we now have established that a real estate review is that whole conversation. We've established why you should be doing it. Now we need to talk about the how. And the how has three real main phases. Okay. Phase one is all about how you contact your customers. Phase two is all about creating the report. And then phase three is all about mastering the presentation. And mastering the presentation has those three last pieces of the actual conversation in it, which is discussing and reviewing the report, asking the right questions, and then assigning the right after meeting action items. So, phase number one, contacting your customers. Now, there's Tony Robbins. I'm sure he probably got this from someone else, but I heard it in Tony Robbins' Unlimited Power seminar years ago. He said, the quality of your life is the quality of your communication. Now, that kind of makes common sense because what you the way you react to what happens to you really determines how you view the world around you. So the way you communicate to yourself obviously determines your life. But in this case, I'm going to change this and say the quality of your communication determines the quality of your business. And there's three main ways that we communicate. Now, the least important one is called syntax. Syntax is the words you use and the actual information you provide. Okay, so that's only about 7% of human communication. Then there's tonality. Tonality, the tone of voice, or the inflection you have on different words is about 38%. And then 55%, or the majority of human communication, comes from body language. So what that means is the better quality communication you have with your customers, the better overall connection you're going to have, and then overall the better business you're going to have. So your goal should be to get the best quality communication as possible, which is why we are so adamant about doing real estate reviews, especially the meeting in person. If you're doing it in person, you're speaking words to them, so you have syntax. You're able to control your tonality, and they're able to see your body language. So you're able to have the best communication possible, which is why when we talk about contacting our customers, in-person face-to-face is the best. It is greater than online face-to-face. Now, online face-to-face still gets to have a lot of those things, but you do lack a little bit of that in-person emotion that you get from being face-to-face. But online face-to-face is a great resource. We've had great success with FaceTime or GoToMeeting or Zoom meetings for real estate reviews. And that's greater than phone calls, which is greater than text. And at the very bottom, we have email. So our goal when we contact our customers is to use one of the lower forms of communication to end up arriving at one of the higher forms of communication. So you're gonna use a phone call or a text message or an email, and those all do rank in that order. So phone call is best. If you can call your customers, talk to them and arrange a meeting, that's gonna be your best option. Now, if you call them and they don't answer, or they tend to not answer your calls, I think I've seen some people say that millennials, which is my generation, don't like to answer phone calls as much. I'll tell you from my personal experience, millennials still answer voicemails. So call and leave a voicemail usually still works. If that doesn't work and you want to connect through text, go ahead and go through text or Facebook direct messenger or something along those lines. And then the last, but actually in this case, yes, least, would be email. But your goal with these is to set up an in-person face-to-face or an online face-to-face. Now, another reason why, besides just the quality of communication, remember, part of this whole thing is the conversation is all 5 pieces of a real estate review, specifically asking the right questions. So if you're not being able to present this live and in person, you can't really ask the right questions and really get the responses from those to lead to the next action items. So our goal is a phone call to lead to an in-person face-to-face. Now, you might be saying, okay, that's great, but how do I make that call? What do I actually say? Well, the key script pieces we want to focus on is there's 4 of them. Okay, so this first line here is, as part of my service to you, or as your real estate advisor, or for all my clients, I. The first part of this really is explaining that this is part of your job. This is something that you always do. Okay, one of my favorite scripts I've heard people use is, for all my clients, I always check in on them on an annual basis, or something like that, where it's not something that you're just doing to drum up transactions. It's something that is part of your service to them. So, many people will start planting the seed for this at closing, saying, I also will always check in with you at least once a year or a couple times a year to keep you abreast on your investment. So what you really want to do is make sure that they understand that this is part of your service to them. The second part of that script that we always recommend is I already created a report. I ran a report and I would love to show it to you. Or I went ahead and did your review. Whatever you want to say is you already did it. Establishing that you've already created the report will go ahead and just cut it off at the turn or cut it off right before they can say, oh, I don't want you to go to any trouble for me. Or no, it's okay. I don't need you to do that. That's one of the most common things that people will tend to do. And if you go ahead and start from the bat and say, I already created it for you, you've already invested that time, and now they will feel obliged. There's a thing called the law of reciprocity where they will feel obliged to go ahead and meet with you since you already invested time to help them. The third part of the script that we always recommend is actually having a call to action. Okay? I'd love to meet with you and discuss this. When can you and I sit down at coffee together? Or I'd really love to meet up in person. Would sometime this week work? Having a call to action and having an actual set question of when can we meet, not are you able to meet. If you say, are you able to meet? In many cases, they're going to say, oh, no, I'm not. It's okay. Versus, hey, I did this. When can you meet? Opening that question of just setting the time will start that discussion in a much better direction. So again, those are the first key 3 pieces. Once they agree to a time, restate the date, time, and plan. Say, I'm so excited to meet you. I have some awesome things I want to show you. Thank you so much. Hang the phone up. There is some truth here that the goal here is to be in action. So obviously you're going to call them. You can have a forward conversation with them, which you're probably already doing. In this case, this is just that, hey, as part of my service to you, I created a report to look at the annual appreciation for your home in your area so that you're on top of your ownership and see what's been going on in values. I'd love to meet with you and discuss this. What time this week can you meet? Awesome, great. That sounds fantastic. I will see you at this date at this time. Thank you so much. I'm excited to show this to you. It's a very short, easy script to do, but when you use those main key pieces, you will find that people will want to meet with you more often and you end up reaching that table. Okay, so that's the first phase. That's all about contacting. Okay, part 2 is the real meat and potatoes of this, which is the report. So the report has a couple key steps. First, you're going to perform your MLS search for the right data. You're going to create your report. You're going to customize it to your customers and customize it to yourself. You're going to print that report, and you're going to add in additional pages. So that being said, I know I'm going kind of quick through this right now, just to make sure that we do hit this time window, but I want to spend a little bit extra time on this. So I'm going to show you this one together. Okay, so we're all going to do this right here live. Now, going back to this, the first step is performing your MLS search for the right data. So what is the right data? Now, if you log into your account right now, under the Reviews Resources tab, you will find this searching guide. So this searching guide really helps you make sure you get the right data for the software so that the reviews are done correctly. Now, you might be saying, yeah, I don't need all this data just for a review. I just want to show in the last 12 months what's been going on or since they bought the house. This is the data that the program needs. Even though we might not use all of it, the program in the background is creating numerical patterns and doing regression analysis in order to find the right neighborhood patterns. So most of the time you're going to search here in the standard neighborhood. We're going to search for the same property type, meaning if it's a single family home, you're going to search for more single family homes. You're going to search by neighborhood, and then you're going to search the last 2 years of all status activity. So all sold, all under contract, all active, and even all expired. You're going to search for that, you're going to export it to your desktop, and then you're going to open the program and then get to actually creating the report. Now on this same guide, we have the other options of if there's no neighborhood, you're going to look for natural boundaries. These can be major roads or rivers, or just something that you can see clearly from a map view of where the natural boundary is. And there's also the option of unique property. So if you have a property that has a view of a certain mountain peak or backs to a certain river or has something very unique about it, what you want to do is look for a broader area than a neighborhood. In many cases, you'll end up being a city or like the northwest sector of a city or whatever it might be that all have that same unique property identifier. Here in Fort Collins, you might end up searching for example, you might be searching for Northwest Fort Collins that all have horse property because you're trying to sell a horse property in Northwest Fort Collins. So these are the kind of different searches you might see, but most of the time you're going to be here in the standard neighborhood. So once you've done your search, export that data, now it's time to go ahead and go into the software and create your real estate reviews report. So opening the software up here, you open it up here, you're going to click the Start Here button, select your MLS, which you can always click this button here, which will just set it for all time, but I tend to leave mine open just for example cases. And then you're going to find the data. Now the data I'm using here today is for the Meadows in Wellington. I'm actually using for this example real estate review for this webinar a home that I actually used to own and we sold in 2020. So that data I searched for was the Meadows in Wellington. And I just used that standard search recommendation for the last 2 years, all status activity. Once this loads in, you will see and find yourself taken directly to your real estate reviews report, which is automatically created for you. And you can see right here. Now this 2-page report is very basic, very simple. It has the 3 main neighborhood patterns, and on the back the scattergram. Now you saw all I had to do there was click Start Here, load the data in, and then let the program do its work. So just like that, we've accomplished step number 2. I'm going to bounce back and forth a lot here just so we stay on top of all this, of creating the real estate reviews report. Now it's time to customize it. So let's make it a little bit more personal to us and a little bit more personal to our customers. The way we do that is by using the customize option in the software. Now it might not pop up right away when you first put the data in, but if you click this real estate reviews button right here, you'll see the customize reviews pops up now. By clicking this, we're going to open up this box, which allows us to customize the whole reviews report. This top text here is what we're going to customize for the area, the street address, or your customers' names. So I'm going to go ahead and type in the street address of the home that we're going to do here. All right, and then just as I'm doing this here, customizing this whole review at one time, you'll notice this top area here does not have a box around it, so it's called banner text. The bottom area here, customize template, when we save this, it will actually stay in the program, so no matter how many review reports you run, it doesn't change. So in this case, you can go ahead and add your name. I'm just gonna type in focus first. You can add in your email, you can add in your phone number. You can even upload a logo by clicking the set user graphic button, selecting the logo you want to add. You can change the banner color. I'm going to go ahead and change the banner color to, let's go to a green. I mean, I don't know why, but green just sounds fun today. And you can see it pops up automatically there. You can change all this stuff around. You can change this very easily back to the blue or to the red or however you want it. Again, you can set these user graphics or you can delete the user graphic by getting the logo in there. And when you click Save Template, this will all lock in place. So that being said, again, I changed this back to the blue after showing you the green really fast. I have my agent information here. This is here in the center. Again, it's all under this customize reviews. Adding the logo in. Once you click Save as Template, you'll see it now kick all the information off to the side. And you can customize this to your heart's delight. You can change the fonts. You can change the colors of the banner. You can add in different logos. That's all fine. Now what you'll notice though is I didn't change anything else on the interior. The only areas that you can change on the interior of this report are this main bold statement here and then the paragraph underneath the scattergram. The rest here are locked. The reason why is it kind of keeps it all laid out very clearly. But for interest of time, I'm just going to stop right here as far as customizing goes. You can very well and very easily change a lot of this to customize it to your customers. But that right there is how you're going to customize the actual report itself. So now we're going to print this and then add in the additional pages. So going back to here, I'm just going to go ahead and control print this. And I'm on a Mac, so on a Mac it's going to be the save as PDF I'm going to do here just to be able to show it to you. You can always print this physical and then bind it with the other papers you're doing, which I do recommend if you're doing it in person. Or you can use a PDF printer or anything like that. But since I'm showing you online, I'm going to save this as PDF. So I'm going to save this as PDF just to my desktop. I'm going to call this review example. Awesome. So now if I go back to my desktop really fast here, you'll see I went ahead and printed this. And now it's here as a 2-page report ready to be shown. But before we do that, we're going to add in a couple additional things. So the first thing we're going to do is add in the cover page. Now, this is another one of the resources we provide to you. So if you go into your account and look at the reviews resources, you'll find this cover page template. We have 3 options pre-built in this template, which are very easy to change and to update however you see fit. So I'm going to go ahead and just use this template here. And I'm going to say, you know what, I have a Focus First logo in here, but I'm going to change this by going to Change Picture from a file, and upload just a little different logo image here. Keep this the same, and I'm just going to add down here at the bottom, changing my name to, again, Focus First. Now, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and print this one as well, which is file print. Is going a little bit longer version this time. And then you can either print all 3 pages, or you can just select the current page, which is, there we go. Selected slides. I'm just going to go ahead and open that to print as well, and save this PDF. Again, you can print this as just a normal page and then bind them together, but in this case, since I'm doing it digital just to show you this when it's all put together, I'm going to do it this way. Now, the other thing we're going to want to bind with it, with the report, with the cover page, is the previous MLS page. The reason why is on that report, and we'll go through this in the presentation, we want customers to be able to draw from their square footage up to the fair market value trend line to get a rough estimate of where the house value is. So what you're going to do is in your MLS, you're going to end up downloading the previous MLS page. Again, this is the house that I actually sold in 2020, so we're using this same MLS, so I have already gone ahead and downloaded this MLS page. So now, going back to my desktop, what I'm going to end up doing is combining all of these into one. Now, and on Mac, you can go ahead and just click and drag and add a lot of these together, which you can see is fairly quick to do. You can also do this with PDF, with different PDF writer software, or with a lot of different other options when it comes to PC. But I'm just doing this for the advantage of time. And now this is just going to do this for me. There we go. I had that open, so I didn't want to cooperate very much. And there is a faster way of doing this, of right-clicking and binding them together, but I'm just going to show you the way that it works here. So now that being said, we now have a real estate review report that is completely compiled and put together. And again, obviously printing this and then just binding together would be the fast option as well. But now we have a beautiful report that consists of a cover page, the first page, the second page showing the scattergram, and then that attached old MLS report. So very quickly there, we have now gone ahead and created our real estate review report. So now that we did that together, we went through and uploaded the data into the software, created the report, went ahead and customized it and added our own logo to it, did the cover page and added the previous MLS page. We've already contacted the customers. Now we're ready to meet with them. So now we get into the next how, which again has 3 real pieces, and it's the presentation. So the first part we're going to talk about is you sit down with your customer, we're going to present the report. So in order to do this, we're going to introduce the report, we're going to walk through the front page graphs, we're going to discuss the takeaways and what that really means about the house, we're going to walk through the scattergram, we're going to give them a pen to draw the line, and kind of the last step is an optional one, but we do recommend is either circle or draw a line at the previous purchase price so they can clearly see their equity and how much the house has increased. So let's run through that. So when you sit down with your customer, you're going to say, hello Bob, hello Jane, hello, family. As part of my service to you as your trusted real estate advisor, one thing I like to really do is keep homeowners in the knowledge and in the know about what's going on with their home. So what I did is I went ahead and ran a very specialized report that shows what's been going on in the last 12 months in your area and how that's affected the value of your home. So let me show you that, and let's just talk over this to kind of understand together what's been going on in your market. And as we view in this one page at a time. Okay. So on this page here, what you can see is what we call the neighborhood patterns for the last 12 months in your area. So this first graph here, each blue dot represents a home that is sold in the last 12 months. You can see here that this red line is the average days before closed. So in the last 12 months, it's been 44 average days in your neighborhood before closed. That is lightning fast. That is fantastic news, because what that means is people are going under contract very quickly after being on the market because your area is very desirable. So you can see here that your area is moving quickly and is right now really hot. And that's really backed up by this second graph as well, which really shows the last 12 months of activity in a little bit of a different fashion. As you know, not every home that goes on the market sells. So one key thing that we want to really keep you in knowledge of is what are the odds of your house selling if you were to take that next step. You can see here, your area has 96% chance odds of selling. That is phenomenal. Of the 26 homes that have listed in the market, this blue here represents the 24 properties that sold. One's currently under contract, and only one home that went in the market in the last 12 months expired and didn't sell. That is just pointing to a mass desirability to come into your neighborhood, and it's a very good sign for your home values as we look at your investment. Now this third graph here shows us the buying pattern. It answers the question of when's the best time to sell my house, or when's the most active time for buyers in my neighborhood. The more buyers there are, there tends to be more competition and more desire to be in the area, which drives prices up. So you can see here that the blue columns that are filled in is the most active area. Each one of these columns represents the number of homes that have sold by those months. So you can see last year, according to the numerical analysis, April through June was the most active time to sell your house. Now going back and looking at the 44-day average time to close, what that means is being on the market in March means you're going to end up closing during that prime time. So that means that right now is a fantastic time. If that's something that you really were thinking about, this is the time that is going to be prime for closing. And so that being said, knowing that your neighborhood sells fast and has really great odds of selling, and now might be a great time, the next question you might want to ask is, okay, so what has this all done to the value of my house? What is my home actually worth right now? Well, as much as I'd love to say I can tell you the exact number, let's first just look at what the overall trend has been going. So on this back page here, you can see that we have a thing called a scattergram. And on the scattergram, each blue dot represents the last 6 months of homes that have sold. And this red line is the trend line that those home sales have shown. So when we go to price a house, we tend to look at a lot of key factors, but the main ones tend to be square footage and price. So I'm going to give you this pencil here. And if you would, for me, draw a line from your square footage up to that fair market value line. Yes, your square footage is, I'm going to turn the page here, 3,376. So let's go back and draw a line from around there up to that fair market value line. Okay, so according to the graph, what does the graph say your home is probably worth about? Yeah, that's probably about right, about $485,000. Now, your home could be worth more. As you can see, one dot is way above the line here. And so that'd be something that we'd have to really go into a full CMA to discuss and figure out. But let me ask you a couple quick questions. Now, I'm going to stop the presentation right there as we jump back now and have reached the walkthrough portion where we've walked through the graph, we've walked through the scattergram, and we've really gone over some of the takeaways. And now we're on to the next step of the presentation, which is asking the right questions. Now, asking the right questions is really key because the whole point here is to have your customers be thinking about their future as well as having that discussion with them of what their plans really are. So seeing now that you bought the house for $375 and it's probably worth around $485 or higher, knowing what you know now, let me ask you, what are the long-term plans for this house? Is this the house you see yourself in 7 years? Okay, so because interest rates are still really low right now, and you know the Federal Reserve is going to be raising interest rates, let me ask you, if you see yourself moving into a different house for 2 or 3 years, did you know that with almost $100,000 in equity, would maybe now be the time to be looking? Or, as a real estate advisor, I have to know what your future plans are so I can stay, my ear to the ground, my nose to the grindstone, and know what the market is. Let me ask you, what are your long-term plans? Or, is there anything that you wish this house had that doesn't have that maybe you're going to see yourself needing down the line? Or, okay, great, like you love this house, you want to live here forever. So, let me ask you, has this home been a good investment? What if you had two? These are the kind of questions that really start your customers thinking about their future plans and really start those conversations in general. And the whole point is some of your customers might be like, yeah, no, I love my house, I don't want to sell. Okay, well, what if you had two? I don't want to worry about that. Okay, that's fine too. Like, have you thought about it before? Yeah, I have. Okay, that's okay. Well, I'd still love to stay connected with you. I'm glad that we were able to have this meeting. Like, So having this conversation, asking those questions, and then assigning the right task after is the key. So the point is, if you're not having these conversations, you're not having them think down the line, you'll never have that moment where you have the discussion of, what are your long-term plans for this house? Well, I thought I was going to live here for a while, but seeing I have that, I'm not sure. And then that starts that conversation. So always ask these key questions, and then you start having these conversations of figuring out what their future plans are. And for some people, they might not even have future plans, might not have really thought about it, and now you're planting the seed of how do you help them achieve financial freedom, or how do you help them get into their dream home if this is their starter home, or even go to a dream home they didn't think they could dream of having because they didn't realize how much equity they have. So once you have these conversations, once you ask these questions, and you start discussing their future, then you have to go on the next step, which is assigning the right after meeting tasks. So based on what you just said, or okay, well, sounds like you love this house, but there's a couple things you wish you could add to it. Or why don't we do this? You love this house, you don't want to move or anything like that, but you haven't really done any research on investment in real estate. Why don't I send you a little information just so you can read about it and kind of understand it a little better, and then we'll reconnect and see what your thoughts are on it. Or how does that sound? These key tasks of starting that next process is where a lot of agents really miss the mark on this conversation, right? These tasks have to be easily a yes or no in completion. They have to have an assignment date of when they're due by, and they have to have the reason why attached to them. Because you said that this is your dream house and that you never want to move, I would love to discuss maybe about real estate investment with you. Okay, because you said that, yeah, in a couple of years you want to move to a bigger house because you're just running out of space because you're having another kid now, I'd love to have a discussion with you where I know what your wish list is for your bigger house so I can keep you on my radar. Having this kind of easily assigned tasks takes you down that path where you start now going beyond just, hey, we had this conversation, I'm your advisor, here's what's going on. And you start action. And that process of starting action is what leads to more. So, during your presentation, you're going to talk through the report. Then you're going to ask questions about, okay, knowing what you know now, or even you can start with a basic question of saying, did you know you had this much equity in your house? Did you expect it to be this much? Or did you understand the market? Or did any of these graphs surprise you? Okay, so why does that surprise you? Or what do you feel about that? And having those kind of questions to start that talk and then assigning a task both to yourself and to them is awesome. So let's say, for example, they do want to sell their house. Your task is to meet with them to do a CMA. Their task is to write up all the things they've done to improve their house since they last purchased it. So that being said, that's the presentation. Now, that being said as well, though, is when is the right time to do this for customers? Okay. How do you know who to call? Then you have this presentation, you have this meeting with them, you ask the questions, you assign a task, and now you're in flow, you're in action with your customers. But there are better times to do this. Now, there's a lot of different times when it'd be really primed to do a real estate review. We're going to focus on just two right now. The first is home anniversaries. This is a written in stone kind of rule, a red line you should not cross. Every year on the anniversary of closing your customer's home is a great time to touch bases with them, but also to do a review, to check in and say, hey, you've owned your house for a year now. Let's discuss what's happened in the last year. Let's talk about what's happened in the review. Or as a real estate advisor, or for all my clients on their home anniversary, I like to do a real estate review and just keep them on an annual basis knowing what happened with the value of their home and the activity in their area. That's one of the prime times because it's a way of celebration, but also it's one of those things of you as a service provider are now really checking with them on a consistent basis, and they'll always expect it from that point on. So that's number one. That's just a thing you should be doing. That's a bare necessity. Number two, end of year summaries are very popular. Now, end of year can kind of be stretched sometimes, and it could be end of a fiscal year, it could be end of a school year, it could be end of the actual year itself. But times when people are really evaluating their lives are a great time to be of service. So obviously January 1st, it's Happy New Year. I wanted to do this review for you and then discuss your plans for this year for your home. That's a very easy conversation to have, and it's a great time to do it with customers. Now, obviously I'm giving this presentation now in February, so it's a little bit past the new year, but it's still the start of the year, still the first quarter, so you can still be using that as a reason to call your customers and be contacting them. So it's kind of one of those things where there's many other occasions and many other possibilities. There's times when great change is happening or giant jumps in the market, which I think we've all seen in the recent times is giant jumps in the market. So there's a lot of people right now that are primed for real estate review because they just don't understand how much homes have gone up in the last couple of years. In this example, for now, I mean, the house that I sold in 2020 at 375 is now worth anywhere from 485 to 500, and I sold it in 2020. So it's been less than a year and a half and it's jumped that much in our area. So your customers in many cases do not understand what's been going on in the market, and so it's a great time to check in with them. But home anniversaries, that should be an annual thing that is expected by your customers, and it's a great time for you to always be in contact with them. And then end of year summaries are also a very powerful time. So now the question you might be asking yourself is, okay, what now? You listen to me for the better part of 40 minutes now. I ran through this very quickly so that we can cover all the material. And you've now seen that in order to create a reviews report, all you have to do is search for this data, export it, open it in the program using the Start Here button, and it automatically creates your report. You can add additional things like a cover page from our templates, which are very easy to use and available in your resources section. You can see the scripts either here in these PowerPoint slides or in our other resources on the how to do a successful review every time PDF, which is also in your resources. And we've gone over kind of the best time to do them at home anniversaries and end of year summaries. So what now? You've listened to this quick presentation, seen it in actually done live for you. So what should you do from this point forth? Okay, so most success comes from massive imperfect action. Okay, now this is a quote that I just kind of put together myself from several other successful quotes I have really loved over the years. And there's a key part to this, imperfect action. So many people try and practice and try and get really good at what they're doing for so long that they just sit and languish and kind of miss the mark, where people that are out there just doing it get better through experience and end up having success while they're doing it. And most success comes from massive action. So the more massive imperfect action you get out there, the more you can put yourself out there, the more you can actually start doing it, the more success you're going to see from this. So for real estate reviews, it's recommended you do 2 real estate reviews every week. Now that real estate review is that full conversation from contact all the way to assigning tasks. Contact, create the report, discuss the report, ask the right questions, assign the right tasks. So the challenge is to do 2 of those a week. Now, that being said, you might call someone, and what if they don't answer? What if they don't call you back? Guess what? That's not a real estate review. You didn't do the complete conversation. So your challenge, and what to do now, is try and get to that point of doing 2 real estate review weeks, no matter how many contacts it takes. Even if it takes 5 phone calls, 10 phone calls, get to that point of doing 2 real estate reviews every week. Now, obviously, the economy we're in now and the situation we're in now, you might have some people that are hesitant to meet face-to-face. Zoom, GoToMeeting, FaceTime, WhatsApp video, Facebook video, Instagram video. These are awesome resources that are available to you right now. Or you can still email maybe the presentation, but have that live discussion at the same time. This is a thing, and this is a time where everything in technology has really been helping out create this to be an awesome situation. So your challenge is to do 2 real estate reviews every week and get to that point no matter how many contacts that takes. That's what you should do now. So before we jump any further, like I said, be putting your questions in the chat. I'm going to jump into the chat here for a second, try and pull out 1 or 2 questions and just answer them very quickly. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to scroll through. Now, obviously, they've been answering most of your questions live, which is awesome. Yes, so all of the things that we see are available in the resources in your customer hub when you log into your account. Can you get rid of the exclamation points? I believe you mean in here. We right now do have these locked as far as exclamation points. I can get rid of in this message here. However, if that is something that we would be beneficial to get rid of, that's something we can definitely look at and see if that's something we might want to do. So that's the first time we've heard that, but if we do have a consensus from other customers saying that they would want to maybe remove the exclamation points from that graph, we could go ahead and look at doing that or making that editable. So For the homes in your area, is there a way to change the number of that? Okay. So the way you can change that, I'm going to go into this really fast, actually, because this is actually a good question. I'm not sure if someone did answer this already. I think my dad jumped in to answer this, but this is a good question for everyone to watch. So these ones here will automatically show the last 12 months because the whole point is to show the last year. That being said, this graph here will automatically try and scale, the scatter will, to hit to that 5 to 10 data points, which is what we recommend for not having too much data. So this shows 6 months. In some cases, it'll show less if there's a lot of data. Now, if you want to show the last 6 months and you want the more data, the way you can change this scattergram to show more information is go to the pricing button here, and you can always select any data you want. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and go here, and instead of doing the last 6 months, I'm going to go ahead and say I want to show the last 9 months. So selecting that, you'll see there's more graphs, more information that was selected here in the data sheet. So if I go ahead and create this scattergram now, you'll see I have a lot more data on this line because I added more than what was standard. So I went ahead and did this and created this. Now the way that I can add this to that real estate review report is once you have the scattergram open after creating it, you click this button here that says Add to RER, which stands for Real Estate Reviews. Clicking that button and then saying yes on this box that pops up, you'll see it now update, and now I've changed that scattergram, adding that to the Real Estate Reviews report. So now you can go ahead and change that as well. So hopefully that was a good example. I believe that was Dom Group, just to show you how to do that. You're asking where to learn that. You can learn it right here as I go through some of this. So, Chris McElroy, your scattergram was over 2 years of properties, but the blue pricing showed 45. I think it's sale price. So I will say the scattergram itself, even though I searched for 2 years of data, the scattergram itself was actually only showing, which is now I've now replaced, was only in the last 6 months. You can see that there probably was some that went up higher, but on that previous scattergram, we'll go back here to that, oopsies, wrong one. Go back to that previous scattergram, which is the default one here. This is one that was made. This is the 510, and this sale price here was at 519,100 that was being shown on that, not all the way up at 575. So I'm going to go ahead and add this back to the report so we can look at that really fast. Again, I was zoomed out pretty far, so if I zoom in here, you can see that this is up here showing that information. So hopefully that answers that question by just zooming in a little bit better. So that being said, I've got, before we get timed out here, about 9 minutes. So before I run out of time, I want to talk about what's next from us. So what's next from us is I am proud to announce and excited to announce what we're calling 5 Weeks to Success with Real Estate Reviews. So what this is we kind of thought and said, how else can we help with real estate reviews? Obviously, we can do webinars like this, just showing instruction on where to download resources or how to do different things, but how can we help you have success? And the main things we can help you with is keep you on track with daily tasks. We can help you have accountability to yourself, because you can have accountability to coaches and managers, and they're a great resource for that, but accountability to yourself is one of the most, if not the most important thing. We can give you more resources to help you do successful real estate reviews. We can keep you motivated to keep taking that massive imperfect action so that you can keep taking action when you don't see the results yet. And we can help you track those actions to really keep track of the results that you are seeing. So in order to do that, we really focused and thought about how can we accomplish some of these things to really be of best service to you. So what we're proud to announce is on March 4th, we'll be releasing a book/workbook with exclusive resources, additional instruction, and motivation called 5 Weeks of Success with Real Estate Reviews. This book will be coming out on March 4th this year, but on March 2nd, we're actually doing our next webinar, which we're calling the Showing Way Too Much Preview webinar. We're going to be showing you not just inside the book and what it's going to offer, but we're going to basically be showing you most of what the book entails and even giving some of them away. So that is on March 2nd at 11 a.m. as well. Hopefully that time we won't have any of the technical issues that we had this time getting started. I'm not sure why that occurred. But that being said, we are excited to be able to announce that on March 2nd at 11 a.m. will be the next webinar, which will be the preview webinar of 5 Weeks to Success with real estate reviews. And then we will be releasing soon after that on March 4th, that book and workbook, which is going to be a giant step, going to be a guided, led challenge that's going to give you daily tasks to keep you on track and basically guarantee you results. So that being said, I've got just a couple more minutes here. And all that I want to really leave you guys with, just in general, is that real estate reviews are a very powerful tool, a very powerful skill for you to learn. And remember that as you go through all this, going back to the slide here, a real estate review counts as the full conversation. And that's kind of your main goal with these. Now, obviously, you're going to be going for transactions. You're going to try and really hope to get more closings out of this. But the main goal is to have more of these conversations. The more of these conversations you have, and the better, I mean, not the better, but the more amount of time you get to serve as a better servant to your clients, the more transactions you'll see, the more referrals you'll see, and the more overall success you're going to have. So, what now? What next for you? Go out there, call your customers, start reaching out to them, and then get some practice in creating these reports. Meet with them, discuss them, ask those questions, and then let us know what kind of results you have from them. This is one of those things where we have seen people have great results, but we want to make sure that you're having them. So if you're having trouble with this, reach out to us at our support staff, and we can help you get your real estate review report up and running, help you with customization and getting that working. So if you have any issues with that, you can contact our support. The other thing, though, is make sure you check out your resources to find your searching guides, to find the cover page template, and even to find a customization guide to help you get the right logo layouts as well as the right customization done so that these reports are done efficiently and personal to you, and you can keep this momentum going. Thank you all so much for being here. Again, my name is Jonathan from Focus First, and we are so excited to be spending this year with you, 22, and be spending so much time in the year of the review helping you get business and leverage your subscription.